Do you want to know why there were more hauntings and stuff back in the older days? I mean, there's probably way more now, just not heard about, or when they're heard about, they don't seem such of a big deal because we see them on TV, we see them on movies. Back in the 1800s and 1700s and times before this century, when people had a dealing with the spirit or entity, they got terrified. Now people are like, well, I saw something worse than that in a movie. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't say that because they see it in their own way, and it does scare them. But at the same time, people are just numb to stuff like that now. So even the idea of spirits isn't that spooky to some people. So they're like, oh, I knew it was out there anyway. So it's not that big of a surprise. But if you would have said this kind of thing to everybody out there, like 100 years ago, they'd be like, what a crazy loon. Wow. You know what I mean? They would have. And I can explain what multiverse and universe actually mean. Whoever came up with those are freaking geniuses because they had to have touched that spot too. God spoke to them just to give them the word universe and multiverse. Because the universe, like say a unicycle is a wheel. You add a wheel to it, it becomes a bicycle too. There's a biverse and there's a multiverse. It's basically all the same song generated from the first vibration. There's more verses to this one song. There's infinite verses to this one song. And universe, picture the unicycle. Like, it's our universe, not saying we're the most powerful beings, because we're not. Water, I'd say, is more powerful than us, but we can also manipulate it. So how it's not more powerful than us, just depends on what circumstance. Anyway, what I'm saying is, our universe is like the first wheel of the multiverse, like the first verse of all the other verses. There are other verses, but we are sort of close to the sun, and that's where it started. Whether there's things bigger than the sun, that dwarf the sun, that dwarf the earth, that dwarf all these other things, it was just an expression of more power to see what it could do. But God was like, hey, I can make a thing bigger than the sun. There's really no point in making more things bigger than the sun. It's just sort of wasting space. Literally, space. That's just him firing things off and having a mishap. Firing things off, having a mishap. Firing things off with more gases and different kinds of elements. Mishap. Firing things off, not quite a mishap, but something we wouldn't understand, but life. Some kind of life. Some kind of molten steel people. Who knows? Then fire another thing off, didn't quite work. Didn't work at all. It's just blinking blue and green. It's got 7 moons and 5 rings. Fire another one off, didn't quite work. This one is working quite well. We may think it sucks, but it is beautiful because we're here to talk about it and live and experience it. If you don't understand me, if you can't feel what I'm saying from my heart and soul, I'm sorry, but I'm here, and I'm here to tell everybody I love you, and I do. I mean, this is Dan talking because I have felt so powered by this that I feel like I am God. I mean, I know I'm not. I mean, I'm not trying to say I believe I'm not, because I believe I am. But at the same time, I believe I'm not the only. I believe I'm one extension, but I understand the frequency. So I can say I'm God, and I believe that, but I can say that I'm also not entirely God, and I believe that, if that makes sense.